welcome back to the Snap. Michael Heaver here alongside Patrick O'Flynn. First of all, Patrick, the most important question, have you been able to go out and enjoy a pint yet?
Yeah, I had 2 pints of Doom Bar outside a pub in Weymouth on Monday evening. Very nice it was too, although a bit chilly.
Yeah, absolutely. Very important that we get back to normality. Now, guys, if you haven't yet subscribed to the Snap, make sure you hit subscribe and the bell. And Patrick, one of the things we're going to talk about is something that I think could potentially become a very big story indeed. That is that the EU still haven't ratified the deal as we sit here in April.
No, well, the European Parliament seems to be the institution that's dragging its feet. We're both former MEPs, and we know that it feels it's sometimes marginalised and it likes to feel important. So the most senior MEPs who sit on this conference of presidents, which I remember deputising for Nigel at a few times back when I was an MEP, they come to the meetings with all their group positions worked out, and they've had a bit of a sort of theatrical strop about the Brexit deal, particularly the trade deal. And they're not going to put it to what's called the plenary session, a vote of the full Parliament, as they were expected to in the next week or two. They're just going to have a couple of committees kind of give it a thumbs up. And so this sort of hangs over now. The European Commission potentially at the end of this month is going to have to ask the United Kingdom government to carry on with the provisional implementation of the deal. Now, the European Parliament thinks this will pile pressure on the United Kingdom as regards things like the Northern Ireland Protocol. But in fact, the Commission and its lawyers think this will give them less leverage over Britain, and Britain could be freer to actually push back a lot harder against the way the EU is applying the Northern Ireland Protocol. So actually, the Parliament, in wanting to feel important, could do something that backfires against the EU and strengthens Britain's position even further.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just think it's all slightly ridiculous as we sit here in April. The EU haven't even ratified the deal yet. And as Nick Guttridge, journalist, lays out today, he's tweeted an interesting bit of insight on this. He's saying, what happens if they don't hold the vote in time? The EU Commission asked for another extension, which the UK would agree to, albeit under protest. Government spokesman saying we've agreed to extend the deadline for the EU and we expect them to complete their processes to this timeline. Of course, the UK having already granted the EU an extension. Or there is no extension, either because the EU doesn't ask or the UK says no, in which case the deal lapses and trade reverts to WTO terms. There is an outcome that he says neither side wants to see at all and would surely only come about as a result of a catastrophic accident. Now, the fact is, Patrick, I do think it's unlikely that that is to happen. But again, the EU playing games is now leading speculation as to where exactly this could lead. And I know an increasing number of Brits now, certainly on my channel and here on the Snap as well, saying it's time to go WTO, it's time to go no deals now, given that the EU is still playing games, and given, of course, that we're scheduled to give them 20 billion quid over the next 2 years.
Absolutely. I think a lot of the fear about consequences for trade has just fallen away. Obviously, we had some difficult figures in January, but the bounce back in February was way stronger than anyone expected. And the sort of consensus in economics now, and economic commentary, is that this is a rounding error. This is a tiny increment either way. Yes, it's painful for some businesses exporting a lot to the EU, but actually in the great scheme of things, the global scheme of things, the UK economy is set fair for some really strong growth. People, who are responsible for international trade selling into the EU, very resourceful. They will find the best way of getting their products to market. And that leverage on the EU side is dissipated. So, if they think the threat of or you might have to go WTO after all is going to scare anyone, they've got another think coming, because the bluff has been called. We're sailing on. Our economy is going to grow quicker than theirs anyway. And this, again, it just looks like the EU as an unreliable partner. We already saw they were prepared to rip up contracts and threaten property rights over the vaccination issue and plants producing within the EU domain. If they now start tearing up the whole basis of future trade with their biggest export market, then I think the reputation of the European Union globally is going to sink even lower.
Now, what I'm keen to highlight on the snap, Patrick, is, time and time again, the Project Fear scare stories being exposed. And you really couldn't make this next one up. Goldman Sachs to create hundreds of jobs with a new office in Birmingham. Indeed, their CEO of Goldman Sachs International, Richard Ganode, quoted as saying, establishing a new office in Birmingham will diversify our UK footprint and give us access to a broad and deep talent pool in the local area. We see, he says, tremendous opportunity to enhance our UK presence and continue delivering for our global clients. Patrick, it can't be emphasised enough, in my opinion, that Brexit reality contrasted to the Project Fear lies. The difference couldn't be more stark, could it?
No, and of course, Goldman Sachs, one of the great names of international financial services, was one of the banks that was bankrolling Remain, and I suppose tacitly supporting the doom and gloom idea. But again, we're seeing that UK financial services sector is very strong, got great underlying strength, and Goldman Sachs planning to increase its footprint not just in London but across the UK. And this again will be seen as a successful part of the levelling up agenda of the government, of high quality jobs moving to our provincial cities, which is all great stuff. And again, the idea of leaving the EU producing some kind of economic calamity has just been completely exposed. Britain needs to believe in itself as an economic power, as a market that the world wants to do trade with and do business in, and it's great news. So I don't know if we can quite welcome Goldman Sachs over to the light side, but they're clearly on the way.
Now, one thing we previously spoken about, Patrick, is the state of the Labour Party. I'm of the view that as it stands today, I think the Labour Party are heading for a more dismal set of election results than many are willing to contemplate. The fact that they're even briefing out that, the Conservatives should take Hartlepool just shows you how much trouble they're in. But you've been looking at some of the numbers on this that have been pretty much unreported elsewhere, and they don't make good reading for Keir Starmer, do they?
No, I follow all the time the YouGov monthly tracker on the leader ratings for Boris Johnson and Keir Starmer, and Starmer's have been turning negative disastrously since really the end of November, every month worse than the last. And the April figure, his overall net rating now between doing a good job or doing a bad job has gone to -24. In some sections it's worse than that. Among people who voted leave in 2016, it's net -41. Among the 18 to 24s, it's something close to -30. Older voters in the north, voters in the Midlands, working class voters, even Labour supporters have gone narrowly net negative about their own leader. This is a complete disaster, because if you're the leader of the opposition and you go into an election, you're the challenger, you're not the incumbent. You need to be a fair way ahead to sustain that through a campaign. And you need to have projected yourself as a potential prime minister throughout your term in opposition. It's incredibly rare to think of a leader of the opposition, who starts off with okay ratings and then they plummet miles behind the incumbent prime minister, getting a second chance in the public eye to come back and win an election. I can't think of that having happened. So that's really bad news for Starmer, and Labour to me seems to be clutching at straws. At one time it was Dominic Cummings driving to County Durham that was going to turn everyone against the Tories and eventually win Labour the next general election. Now they think it's Tory sleaze, and I would liken these are second order or third order issues. I would liken it to you're sitting upstairs on a bus and a man goes crazy wielding a samurai sword and swinging it and threatening people, and then the bloke suddenly chips up that there's another passenger on the bus picking his nose. Now that might be true and it's not very nice, but these are problems of completely different orders of magnitudes. And Labour is the party that hates Britain, runs us down, pushes ID politics, hates our history and heritage, and Labour now complaining about a bit of overzealous Tory lobbying, which the Tories need to watch out. But the idea that anyone is going to vote for the bloke wielding the samurai sword just because he's pointed out someone's picked their nose, that's what Labour needs to get to, fundamental change. And I think you've noticed some new polling about who the Labour Party members are, grassroots members, and what they actually think, which shows you just how far away Labour is from even being in the running.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to be in a very, very strange place, Patrick. And of course, you have to make a distinction between Labour Party members and traditional, Labour voters, because there is a big difference there. But yeah, there was more YouGov polling on this of Labour members that's just come out. Pretty remarkable stuff. So Labour members now, 31% support Scotland breaking away from the UK, essentially the SNP position. A further 28% of Labour members say the Scottish Parliament should have even more powers. So combined now, 59% of Labour Party members, according to this YouGov poll, either support Scotland breaking away from the UK or say the Scottish Parliament should have even more powers. And when it comes to a referendum, and of course this is ahead of a huge set of elections in May, including to the Scottish Parliament, 60% of Labour Party members now support another referendum in Scotland in the next few years. Patrick, as I said, I think the Labour Party are in a very strange place indeed.
They certainly are. The large majority of their members do not believe in the union, i.e. the union of the United Kingdom. And that very closely mirrors the 59% who think Labour should be campaigning to rejoin the union they do believe in, the European Union. They aren't proud to be British. They don't believe in Britain. And the fact is they're having a massive post-Brexit strop in which they think that because the British people overall voted to leave the European Union, that means Scotland is wise to want to break away from the UK. They have such a low opinion of the UK and the history and the achievements of Britain that they're equally pushing the idea that we're close to having a move towards a united Ireland. They don't want the country to succeed after Brexit, and it really is astonishing when you think in Scotland that the SNP pretty much had a monopoly of the independence vote. As they look up there, this large majority of Labour members, across the rest of the UK, are actually wishing Nicola Sturgeon either to succeed outright in getting independence or to accrue even more decision-making power away from the United Kingdom Parliament to the Scottish Parliament. So again, it's a party that doesn't believe in its own country.
Lots going on, Patrick. There's going to be lots more, I'm sure, happen between now and those May elections, and it's going to be interesting to see where the Labour Party stand the day after those elections. Personally, I think you could still see a Corbynista leadership challenge to Keir Starmer. We'll have to wait and see if that happens. But guys, thanks again for watching. We hope you're enjoying the snap. We're certainly enjoying doing these shows. So make sure you hit subscribe and the bell so you don't miss the next episode. And Patrick will be back again soon.
Yeah, see you soon, Michael.
Cheers.